Hi, how are you doing? Hope you have been well. Today, let's talk about what does it mean to know your own mind. Let's say it's the weekend and you want to go out for lunch. After taking a pill for a headache, you decide to go out to a Thai restaurant, for example. Do you know that you are contemplating going out for lunch, have a minor headache, or want to eat Thai food? If so, how do you know that? So, having self awareness of these mental states requires having real and reasonable beliefs about them. Some thinkers, though, prefer to view self knowledge as an ability that doesn't require having beliefs about yourself, but that's a marginal view and we don't agree with it here. However, self knowledge appears to have some more special features. First, we generally know our own mental states better than others know them. So we have a privileged access to knowledge about ourselves that we can rely upon. Second, we normally come to know our mental states in different ways than how others come to know them. It seems to have a different source than knowledge of other minds and our knowledge of the world more generally. Unlike how we learn about other people's mental states, we don't normally undertake self observation or hypothesizing about what we ourselves are thinking, feeling, and the like. It happens more instinctively than deliberately, right? So, in this video, we'll discuss some powerful answers to how we come to possess self knowledge of this unique nature. To start with, I invite you to think about why having self knowledge would be important. First, much more often than not, you know your mental states better than others do. If so, it's normal that you have control over when and where you reveal your mental activity to others. For example, if you dislike your job, you are in a better position than your colleagues to know this, and you can keep this feeling hidden from them. You might as well. Second, it also matters that you know yourself differently from how others know you. That's why the special way in which you know yourself is part of why you know yourself and why you know yourself best. That is because your way of knowing your feelings is generally more accurate than your colleagues' way of knowing them. They can't know your feelings in the same way that you know them and won't generally be as knowledgeable about your feelings as you are. And then let's look at what then informs self knowledge. So, inwardly bent, inward looking self knowledge. Possibly, self knowledge is unique because it emanates from introspection, a kind of looking inward. The most prevalent theory of introspection claims that each of us possesses a special mechanism or ability to probe and thus reveal our own mental states to ourselves. This may be a literal inner eye, or maybe a mechanism that is located somewhere in the architecture of the brain. We often call this ability inner sense. For the purpose of self knowledge, inner sense is supposed to be far more reliable than outer senses, like hearing or sight, that provide us with knowledge of other people's minds. This is the reason why we know ourselves both better and differently from how others know us. You don't have to look into a mirror to see your expressions, to realize how you feel, and so on and so forth. But one criticism, nevertheless, is that the inner sense is a very hypothetical facility. Unlike our mechanisms for hearing, seeing, touching, and the rest, each of which we know to exist. Even if we do have an inner sense capacity, we don't know where it is located or how it works. The problem therefore arises that without a clearer understanding of how our inner sense functions, We can't be sure that it's more reliable than our outer senses. So many thinkers contend that there could never be an agent with normal rational abilities that never knows her mental states better and differently than others know them. So it is debatable that inner sense exists and is more reliable than our outer senses. Now, let's look at outward looking self knowledge. The idea of extrospection was defined as the capacity of looking outward in order to know your mind. For example, to know if one building is taller than the other, you can focus on which of the two buildings looks higher. Once you determine that building A is taller than building B, then this is what you believe and you can ascribe this belief to yourself. Therefore, you gain self knowledge through extrospection by thinking about the two buildings rather than about yourself. Extrospection seems extremely reliable given that even if your belief about the building were mistaken, it would still be your belief, which means that you are accurate in attributing it to yourself. Likewise, if another person finds building A taller, this doesn't reliably tell them what you believe. So these points suggest that extrospection provides a more competent and a different route to self-knowledge than to knowledge of others' minds. For this, we don't need to suggest the existence of inner sense mechanisms either. However, focusing on the outside world is futile in some cases, such as for gaining self-knowledge of your itches and aches. Many such sensations and senses are entirely inner, unlike beliefs or other mental states that are about the outside world. Therefore, looking outward may sometimes explain what's better and different about self knowledge as compared to other knowledge, but it'll not do so for every case. And then autonomous self knowledge. Perhaps self knowledge is not based on introspection, extrospection, or any facilitating process or mechanism. Perhaps it's on autopilot, which would mean there's no real difference between knowing what's on your mind and being in that state of mind. Maybe part of what it is to feel in love is to be aware of your love sensations, or that part of what it is to intend to play soccer is to know that you intend to do this. This view of self knowledge is often referred to being constitutive about self knowledge because it's the idea that one's mental states are constituted by one's awareness of them, which means then self knowledge is very different from knowledge of others' minds because others are never immediately aware of your mental state. The fact that it is in the very nature of your mental states that you're aware of them means that self ignorance is out of the question, which ensures that you know yourself better than others know you. However, it's not right to think that you're never mistaken about your mental states. Suppose you notice yourself acting harshly toward a colleague. Is this propelled by jealousy or tough love or what else? The reflection process may not be easy. You may even end up self deceived. Imagine someone who cries out it hurts before the dentist drill even touches their mouth. You've seen it. Apparently, they are just afraid, not hurt. Any good explanations of self knowledge should leave room for occasional self ignorance. So, to sum it up, in this video, we have tried to explain all instances of our self knowledge. To put it all together, knowing your own mind refers to having a deep understanding of your thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and desires. It involves self awareness, introspection, and reflection on one's own mental processes and is an essential aspect of self discovery and personal growth. To know your mind, you need to develop the ability to observe your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors without judgment. This requires being mindful of your internal experiences and acknowledging them and being honest with yourself about your strengths and weaknesses, your values and priorities, and your goals and aspirations. It starts with being fully present without judging. So there are various techniques and practices that can help you develop self-awareness and help you know your own mind that we will discuss in another video. For now, that suffices for the purpose of our discussion, which is about what does it mean to have self-knowledge? What does it mean? What does it take to know your own mind? So thank you very much and see you next time.